some people don't have laptops or internet, and then you can't go to a library right now. So I wonder just how it's going to affect those people, because some people just don't have access to those things, you know?
That I think is the biggest problem here because
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So what you're about to see is another interview with Steve Schwartz from Lsat Unplugged. We talk about the new Lsat-Flex and some of our comments, thoughts, concerns, things like that. If you're interested, of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I'll be back at the end to give you some closing thoughts.
yeah, sure, Letitia, and thanks for having me back again. So my name is Steve Schwartz. I run the LSAT blog. I also host the LSAT Unplugged YouTube channel and podcast. I've been teaching the LSAT for about 15 years now, and I have never seen so many changes in such a short time over the past year with the digital LSAT rollout and now this new online LSAT Flex. It's really crazy times.
No, it's really crazy right now, definitely. But so what is the Lsat-Flex? Because I've read about it and I honestly still don't know.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of details yet. It's LSAC's new online LSAT administration. So the LSAT was paper and pencil. Then last summer, they began the digital LSAT rollout where it was digital on a tablet, but you were still going to a testing center in person. Now, due to coronavirus, COVID-19, going in person is not an option. And LSAC just canceled the April LSAT, and they are replacing it with a new online LSAT administration in May called LSAT Flex. So you'll do it at home on your own computer online.
Okay, and so do people need like a certain type of software? Can you still do it on a tablet? Can you do it on a laptop now? Do we have those details yet?
We have some of them. So you actually, surprisingly, cannot do it on a tablet. The software will be the same as the tablet digital LSAT, so it'll look and feel the same, but you'll be doing it on a computer, not a tablet. And they give the system specifications, but I suspect that most reasonably modern Mac computers and Windows computers will be able to run it.
Okay.
They say no Linux, so sorry, geeks. And you can't do it on a phone either.
Okay.
It's got to be Windows or Mac.
Okay. Do you think it'll be like the writing portion where you have to walk around and show them your entire room, show them your scratch paper, your pencil, all of that?
It'll be a lot of that, yeah. So they'll monitor you with a webcam and a microphone.
Okay.
They're using a company called Proctoring, which is online remote test security solutions kind of thing. So basically, it's a private company contracted by LSAC to provide security to prevent cheating, things of that nature. ETS, the people who do the SAT, the GRE, the AP exams, advanced placement exams, they also use Proctoring. And so this is a pretty experienced company with this sort of thing. There could be tech issues. Maybe somebody clever could figure out cheating, but they've been through this a few times already. So I think they'll have a good rap on it.
Okay. And was there a May exam before, or is this the first May exam?
This is the first May exam. So they weren't going to do a May exam initially, but when it looked like April might be canceled, LSAC floated the idea that they might do May. I honestly didn't think they would pull it off in time. I was expecting an online LSAT by July, maybe June at the earliest. They're really rushing this thing out. They want to get it out. They know law schools and applicants both want to be able to take the LSAT. They want those scores for law schools to finish out this cycle. And so they're speeding it up. I hope they'll be successful with it. And if the June LSAT also has to be canceled due to COVID-19, which I think is entirely possible and even likely, we might see another online LSAT Flex to replace the June LSAT administration.
Okay. So do you think that if this is successful, that they'll leave it like this? Like, let's say when everything goes back to normal for us, whenever that happens, do you think they'll leave it like this and you can still do it online?
I think they will. They're saying that once things go back to normal, they will want to do it in person again. And they keep holding on to this idea of maybe doing really small in-person administrations below whatever the threshold is for in-person gatherings due to COVID. I don't see that being feasible. You still have the same number of people who want to take it. That would get really expensive and complicated with proctors in multiple centers. So I think any exam during a COVID wave will be online with LSAT Flex. But I also think that long-term, it's hard to go back on technology. Once they've got Proctoring, everyone sees how easy it is to do this online, I think that will become the new normal, and it will become more normal with each new online administration. So I suspect that 5 years from now, it'll be online. And I could certainly see 50 years from now, it would seem really antiquated to be going somewhere in person to do that. I think this will be online for the long term, but in the short term, maybe they'll have another couple of in-persons.
Okay.
See.
Okay. And then I've heard that it's only 3 sections now, or is it, or maybe it's 3 instead of 4, and then it still has the experimental. Is that right?
That's a great question. And this is one of the most interesting and still unanswered questions around this. So it's not going to be 5 sections. It's only going to be 3 sections. And part of that is because they can't have a break when it's online because how do you go to the bathroom? They can't follow you into the bathroom. They can't control people the same way as they could at an in-person testing center. And then also a shorter duration reduces the potential risk of an internet outage or glitch. So they're trying to shorten it to make it more successful as well. Now, it'll be 3 sections: games, reasoning, reading comp, 1 of each. There will not be an experimental section at all for the online LSAT. And you'll be doing 1 logical reasoning, not 2.
Oh, so this cuts the time like drastically, like an hour and 10 minutes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's much closer. Well, so let's see, 3 sections, 35 minutes each. Yeah, it's about closer to 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think that's a benefit to people, or do you think that now the scores will be, because now you have less to go off of, you know, whenever it was 101 questions, I feel like you had a bigger room for like a margin for error, but now it's kind of like you only have, what is that? 70 or so questions, I think, however much that adds up
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. So you got, instead of having 100 scored questions plus an experimental that doesn't count, you now have approximately 75 questions. So you have fewer questions, but the questions you do count more.
Mhm.
There's also this big unknown around logical reasoning, because when the exam is 4 scored sections, logical reasoning's half the exam. Now with 3 scored sections, logical reasoning is only 1/3 of the questions you'll do, but we don't know whether they will weigh the logical reasoning questions more heavily to make up that proportion if they want to weigh it more heavily overall. And LSAC had a webinar today that was pre-scheduled, but of course, given the Lsat-Flex announcement last night, people had tons of questions about this. And LSAC, for some reason, they were not answering that question, and everybody was asking it. And they're saying that they'll have more answers next week. I'm hoping they get back to folks sooner, though, because this May online LSAT is a month and a half away. People got to know. They've got to know how to prep. If logical reasoning is half your score, you might want to focus more on that than if it's only 1/3.
Exactly. And then, so when can you register for the May, or was it already, if you were registered for March and April, you're automatically registered for May? How does that work?
Yes. Yeah. So they're reserving this current online LSAT Flex administration just for people who were registered for March and April.
Okay.
They're not making it open to everybody. But if the June LSAT gets canceled, which again, I think it will be, then they're going to have to put that online also, which means you're going to have a whole nother cohort of people doing it online for whenever June is rescheduled. The current in-person June is scheduled to be June 8th. So maybe they'll make an online replacement for that in late June, I'm guessing.
Okay. And then what if someone doesn't want to take it online though? Do they have the option of withdrawing and getting a refund, or no?
Yes, you can withdraw. I know that at the very least, they'll give you a coupon for a future LSAT all the way through April 2021. And if for some reason that didn't work for you, they'd probably give you a refund if you asked for it. I mean, you didn't sign up for an online LSAT. That's not what you paid for. And they'll make that right. They're not looking to keep your money for something like that.
Okay. Okay. Do you think they'll change anything else about the test, like in terms of the structure of the question types, or you think this is just really just transitioning to online and shortening the test?
Yeah, they've confirmed that all the question types and the content, all of that's going to be the same. Only the delivery mechanism, it being online, it being at home, 3 sections, not 5. That's really the only thing that's changing. And for folks who are wondering, they are going to equate the scores. They're going to account for any potential differences in difficulty due to it maybe being easier for some people being at home, maybe due to being harder for some being at home. There's lots of complications we could get into around the pros and cons of this, but they are sticklers for the data and the statistics around this. And that's part of why it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get your score back. And even for this online LSAT, they're still going to take 2 weeks to make sure that the questions perform as expected due to difficulty levels and all that.
Okay. So do you think people will get scores back same time frame, quicker, shorter? What do you
They
think?
said it'll be 2 weeks for
Oh.
this online LSAT, and the in-person administrations have been about closer to 3 weeks even. So this is slightly faster. And I think that with time, they will get faster at this, or at the very least, they could give you a predicted score subject to change based on how you perform simply as a raw score conversion. So if you get let's say there's 75 questions, you get all 75 right, they should tell you got a 180. There's no ambiguity with that. And if you get 70 correct out of 75, that might be something like a 174, let's say. And they could tell you provisionally, you've probably scored around 174 plus or minus 3. That would be nice to know. That would reduce the stress a lot for that 2-week waiting period.
Okay. Do you foresee people, like, for example, myself, I wouldn't do this obviously, but do you foresee there being any issues with people complaining that did have to do, the 5 sections, even though we understand it's unfair, it's a crazy circumstance right now. I do feel like some people will still find a way to complain.
Oh, for sure. And I've been hearing lots of complaints around this. Believe me, everyone's got a reason to be angry about this one reason or another. And the thing is, LSAC is going to equate things. They don't have any reason to want to privilege 1 month's LSAT takers over another. And that speaks to the whole validity of this exam in general. The idea that my score is comparable to your score whenever you take it. And obviously over a 20-year time span, there are significant differences. And you've seen the raw scores change over time, but somebody taking it in 2020 versus 2017, they should be roughly the same. And LSAC wouldn't be going ahead with this if they didn't think it would be fair or comparable. And I do have faith that they at least believe these will be similar scores.
Okay. What about accommodations? Like, how does that work?
That's a good question. And they're working out the specifics of that with the affected test takers. I mean, the simplest and easiest thing to adjust for is extra time. So if somebody's getting time and a half, which is 53 minutes rather than 35 minutes, that's an easy fix. You just change the clock. But those who have other sorts of accommodations for things like visual impairment, for example, that might require in-person staffing of some sort or another person on call to help out test takers with whatever they need.
Okay. And then I guess on the same kind of with that, what about people who, some people don't have laptops or internet, and then you can't go to a library right now. So I wonder just how it's going to affect those people, because some people just don't have access to those things.
That, I think, is the biggest problem here, because not everybody has a laptop. Not everybody has a reliable internet connection. For a lot of people, their only digital device is their phone, and you can't do this on a phone. And so I would suspect that LSAC's solution to this could be to have a warehouse or a storehouse of maybe 500 simple laptops, and they mail those out next day shipping, 2-day shipping to everyone who needs one as a loaner, and then they return it afterwards. That would address the device aspect. It would not address the internet connectivity aspect. I'm not sure how they would address that. Maybe they would set you up with a university of sort that does have a good internet connection, that they'll rent out the space or have a partnership to let people go there to take it at the very least, because they got to have a solution for them. They can't tell them, just wait till it's in person again, because that could be a huge disadvantage. If this goes on for months, and the later you apply in a cycle, the lower your odds are of getting in, the less scholarship money. So they can't delay you on that. I think they've got to provide you with some solution, both for a device and for a accommodation testing center of some sort.
I don't really have any other questions, I don't think. Well, let me think. But do you have anything else you want to share while I'm thinking?
Yeah, of course. I would just be suggesting that for those who are going to take it at home, make sure you've got a good, quiet environment to do this. So if you have kids who need to be taken care of, if you have a significant other make sure they don't get in the way. If you have a noisy dog, make sure that dog is out of the house for those 2 hours. Make sure your home environment is as good as possible. And if you don't have a great home environment to do this sort of thing, which many people don't, then unfortunately, in the short term, you might have to delay. And that's not fair. I would say, reach out to LSAC, say, my home environment is not suitable for whatever reason. Either the internet's not good or you have a busy household, whatever it is, and tell them they got to make it right in some way, because you can't delay your applications for months just because of this.
Exactly. Do you think the schools will look at these scores differently? Like if it is online for May and June, do you think the schools will look at them differently, or not really?
I don't think they will. Law schools have a lot of confidence in LSAC as to the validity of the LSAT, which I think is a good thing. LSAC is very cautious and careful and deliberate about rolling out anything. And they've, of course, accelerated a lot in the past year with the digital LSAT, now this online LSAT due to COVID, and the digital due in part to competition with the GRE. They've increased frequency of test administrations, and the quality of the questions is super high. And whether you're doing 3 scored sections or 4 scored sections, I don't see there being a huge difference in predictive validity of the exam based on that alone. And I think law schools share that confidence in LSAC to roll out a quality exam. So I don't think law schools will look at the results of this differently from any other test. They are noting that these are the online LSAT rather than in person. And I think part of that's just for law schools to be aware that applicants were taking this under slightly different circumstances, to maybe have some to give them some wiggle room a little bit with that. But at the same time, the numbers are the numbers. There's no substitute for that. And so if this online LSAT, if you bomb it for some reason, you could write an addendum, but the real answer is just retake. Nothing substitutes for the score.
Okay. Is it disclosed or non-disclosed? Do we know yet?
This exam will not be disclosed.
Okay. That makes sense. Do you know why? Can you think of why it wouldn't be disclosed? Because I feel like if it's online, I guess, well, I can't really see any negatives to disclosing it. Can you think of any?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, LSAC in years past, let's say 2018 and prior, the LSAT was offered 4 times a year only, and 3 of those were disclosed.
Okay.
One of those, the February LSAT, was reserved in the bank for future administrations, like the Sabbath Observers test, which is on a Monday, not Saturday, or overseas administrations, or for let's say if there was a inclement weather issue like a snowstorm or a hurricane, a tornado, and they had to cancel it in a certain part of the country, they would have undisclosed tests to use in reserve for those unique circumstances. And when the LSAT went from being 4 times a year to 10 times a year, they couldn't suddenly produce 6 more exams per year. It cost them nearly $1 million to produce one test form with 100 questions scored. So they have to still undisclose or they can't disclose most of them and can only release 3 in order to keep more in the bank for those other administrations. And the April LSAT was never going to be released anyway. And so there's just not changing that.
Okay. Have you seen any differences in, like, this is related, kind of related. Have you seen any differences in, like, people that, even for you yourself, or I guess people that do classes on, in person, are they offering discounts for doing those classes online? Have you saw that?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's offering in-person classes right now, at least not in North America, given the circumstances. And most companies have been offering both in-person and online for quite a while, myself included.
Yeah.
And in part because online is cheaper to hold. I mean, you're not renting space. You could potentially have a larger class size because you don't have the physical limitations. And so, yeah, online classes have traditionally been cheaper. And I see that going forward. I mean, basically all the in-person classes are canceled and they've offered students the option to go online instead, and they're charging them less.
Okay, so they are doing discounts. That makes sense because they're going to have way more people now, so they'll probably still make the same amount,
Exactly. Yeah, that's entirely possible.
That makes sense. I guess just overall, do you have any feelings, thoughts about, or how many, like, have you heard a lot of complaints in general? I know for myself, I'm in like a lot of different group meets or just conversations on Instagram that I've had with people. And I think the main concerns that I've just heard were, like we talked about, people being upset, feeling like it's not really a good condition for, like, people who are in certain types of homes or disadvantaged individuals or people who may not have the funds to buy a laptop. But then we did talk about, maybe them sending out laptops and all of that. But I guess I'm wondering then, how would they even get to the laptops where we're not supposed to leave our houses,
Yeah, I'm not sure LSAC has a solution to the device issue. That was just my hypothesis as one potential solution for that. I could certainly see that being an issue for folks. And then the other issue is, again, not knowing how logical reasoning will be weighted relative to other scored sections of the exam. That's a big unknown. And I think that is something LSAC needs to be much more forthright and direct about sooner rather than later, because with the online LSAT only a month and a half away, every day of prep counts. And LSAC should know the answer to that question, and they should tell people as soon as possible, like yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. It's just crazy, Brent. I just have a lot of thoughts going through my head. I just feel really bad for anybody that's taking it right now, that was taking it in March, April, even June or July. Like, if you were planning on applying early, it's really going to probably push your applications back if you're not comfortable with taking it online, So I don't have any other questions. I just feel bad for everyone right now, I guess.
Yeah, no, same. I have a lot of sympathy for folks too. I mean, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. Now to have all this uncertainty around the LSAT and law school admissions process as well, I just feel really bad for folks. And I would say, if you want to apply this cycle finishing up now, obviously you want to take the LSAT as soon as possible. But if you're applying next cycle, if possible, I would hold off on even taking the LSAT because too many unknowns around what it's going to be like. I'd say don't even bother with this online LSAT or June or even July, maybe hold off till August, because at least August we're likely to have more information by then about which way it's going to be. Will it be online? Will it be in person? Hopefully LSAC will make those choices sooner than they have been up to this point. And at least you'll know, are you doing 5 sections? Are you doing 3 in person at a testing center or online at home? At least knowing that reduces some of the uncertainty and the stress, making it smoother.
Exactly. Well, do you have a prediction about whether we'll even be in person in classes in the fall? Do you have a prediction about that?
Yeah, I mean, given what I'm following on COVID-19 and the idea of a second wave, maybe, and a third wave, I think quarantine is going to be with us for quite a while. There might be brief periods of back to normal temporarily, but I see a lot of ups and downs coming up over the next year and a half, which I'm not happy to say, but that's just my reading of the news.
That is so crazy. Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
it really is.
Thank you. I guess on that note, we will end this. But no, thank you, Steve. Definitely appreciate it. So you guys, of course, I'll have Steve's information below. He has a podcast, a blog. He offers tutoring himself. So definitely we'll have all of his information below. Okay, guys. So hope you enjoyed that video for sure. Like I mentioned, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I do also just want to say that, you know, I am very empathetic to individuals that are having to go through this and take the LSAT right now. I would just say just really try to evaluate if you want to wait it out, if you need to take it right now. Obviously, if you're looking to apply to start school this fall, you probably do need to just go ahead and take the one in May. So just research, keep up to date with the information they come out with. Keep studying. I don't know. But if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave them down below. You'll see me in this same shirt again in my next video if you watch it in the morning. But yeah, y'all. Bye.